the Security Council room at the United Nations. I wrote this quite a few years ago because I had heard other people who were talking about the same mural, and I thought there was a lot of misinterpretations that were being put about, and it was quite obvious to me what we were looking at. Here's the mural in question. So there's a lot going on here. And anyway, let me read this to you. What is the nature of the intelligence beyond the controlling power structure of the earth? How and for what purpose does it manipulate world commerce, currency, and foment war? The subtle but formally missing pieces of information gathered along the path that answers these questions will surprise many. Winston Churchill said, "History is written by the victors." How very different would world history be if men were incapable of ignoring truth or fabricating accounts of events? Language has a peculiar quality that it absorbs and retains portions of truth. All the words of every language throughout history retain these fragments, despite the best efforts of the best liars that ever lived. I think we're living in such an era. It is possible to gather and discern enough of the literature written over the past or the last 3,000 years and step back and look at it from a distance. Like looking at a color blindness test image, a subtle picture appears to the ones able to see. What if all language could be reset and men forced to adopt a new universal tongue, unique from any that existed? The hope of finding truth could be erased as well. There have been efforts towards this goal. Ludwig Lazarus Lamenhoff constructed an entirely new language and called it Esperanto, meaning one who hopes. He explained that a fabricated, politically neutral language would transcend nationality and foster peace and understanding. I couldn't imagine having an entirely new language that had no roots to meaning. What a nightmare. The precursor organization to the United Nations, the League of Nations, proposed the use of Esperanto in their state schools of all its member nations. Of course they would. It is telling the United Nations would seek to impede the discovery of truth. However, in a typical Hermetic fashion, this institution also displays a bit of truth in plain sight. And that is the method of the Satanists, the Illuminati, the ones with secret knowledge. A peculiar oil canvas mural painted by the Norwegian artist Per Lassen Krog is a central figure in the Security Council room at the UN. Krog's mural depicts the same event that has been hoped for by the illuminated elite for thousands of years. And when I say elite, I don't really mean elite. I mean a small group of ultra evil psychopaths who worship the devil. At the base of the painting, an underground dragon slays himself, his jaw still holding a sword. There he is. Peculiar, yes. In mythology, Python was a dragon who guarded the Omphalos of Delphi, the center of the earth. Python was the old name of Delphi and is related to Python, meaning to rot. The Proto-Indo-European root, Dufon, or from Danube or Deb, means hollow, deep, bottom, or depths. Python was known as the chthonic dragon and was killed by Apollo with the darts given to him by Zeus, becoming the new guard of the oracle. Above the dragon in Krog's mural, a phoenix rises, casting off its old form. Behind the phoenix, people emerging from the dark depths of the cave surrounding the dragon approach the door with many golden stars, an asterion, further identifying the phoenix as the asterion, or starry one of myth. Continue with the myth of Apollo at Delphi. It was he, as the Nakash, or Nakash, according to certain people I won't talk about, who symbolically changed his image in preparation for his future expression in human form by coming as a slayer of his first manifestation, the serpent dragon Apollo, or the serpent dragon Python, as Apollo. He plans to create his version of heaven on earth. Of course, the center of the earth is not really just a place marker, but is also a time marker and a concept. It is where the beginning of all that is to come via the knowledge of good and evil sprang forth. Apollo at Delphi is similar to the legend of St. George. The understanding of the serpent raising himself up as Apollo was keenly perceived by the late Bill Cooper. He explains that the international flag of the Scottish Rite is the United Nations flag, and that it depicts the nations of the world encircled by the laurel of Apollo. William says, you may verify the goal of the Illuminati by visiting the homepage of Freemasonry's Grand Lodge of Scotland. You will also notice the flag of the Grand Lodge of Scotland and the universal flag of Freemasonry is displayed. The universal flag of Freemasonry is the United Nations flag. We thank those of you who responded with affidavits confirming this paragraph. Since this paragraph has become well known, the Grand Lodge of Scotland has replaced United Nations flag on their web pages with a graphic of the earth. The whole image of the phoenix and the activity above is contained in a mandorla within a bright circle. In the Middle Ages, especially, Christ figures, Christ himself would be displayed by artists in the mandorla vessus. It's as if the halo aspect, the shining aspect of the being is being encompassed. A baby marks the central point of the circle. There's a baby holding an apple there, I think, and sits on the grass in the garden above the head of the rising phoenix, forming a circumpunct, again representing the sun, or that is Apollo. You see how they have the light here in the back. So this is the same creature. He is there instigating the event, getting involved with mankind. And through mankind and his activities, he's going to propagate himself. That's the ultimate goal, to become the anti-Messiah, a physical manifestation of himself on earth through his own action. And of course, the actions of the illuminated ones. Finally, in the branches of the familiar tree in the garden scene, a Pan-like figure gently hands out one of the tree's golden fruits, Cydonia fruits, to a girl, while a man and a red-haired woman kneel together. And this is significant that the woman has red hair. Eve has always depicted with red hair. Once the genesis and identity of the central character has been exposed, the plan of the people who worship this entity can be comprehended in clear terms. For many, unfortunately, the first and most difficult step is believing that this entity actually exists. And of course, if you don't believe in God, it is utter foolishness to believe in a creature that God made. So here's the image up close. Here's Python slaying himself. He was cursed. Just look at Genesis chapter 3, what God said to this serpent for his interaction with mankind. But in his mind, he will resurrect himself to become a God man. And that's what the United Nations is all about, to help foment this as they believe, eventuality on earth. And it will happen. Exactly how and how soon, that's the question.